Hey guys, Terry here again. So we've all heard the expression, God doesn't give you more than you can handle, and it's a great sentiment. And within certain contexts, it's probably true that for the most part, most of the time, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. But then again, if we aren't tested, how do we gain strength? It's the same concept of when you go to the gym. You've got to push weight that's a little close, if not beyond your capability, in order to build that muscle. But it's a misinterpretation of 1 Samuel 10:13, and this is the New King James Version. I'm going to start with 12 and then read all the way through 13. Therefore, let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. No temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. And so that may be worded differently than, because that's where people in other translations get the God won't give you more than you can bear. But this is specifically referring to temptation, and the popular saying that has sort of moved out into the wilderness of popular culture deals with life's trials overall. And, they both deal with things that we encounter, challenges, struggles, issues, situations, and situationships that are uncomfortable and hard to deal with, life's hardships. Here's the deal, though. The original biblical focus on temptation is more important because often the situations that we find ourselves in are self-inflicted. We came across a situation of temptation, and God's purpose in introducing that is to make us better and stronger. And it says here at the end, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. Okay, so it's all in our free will, isn't it? It's all in our connection with our Creator. It's all in how we view our connection to our Creator and view how we are constructed. There's a phrase in pop culture also, I was born this way. I was born this way. And you may have been born that way, but you still have a choice to remain that way. And hey, like I said in all my other videos, easier said than done. None of this is easy. You don't value things when you're just handed them. And that includes your personal integrity, your personal strength of will, your personal sense of self-control over anything and everything that you might create and put as an idol above your relationship with your Creator. Not meant to be easy, but therein lies the value of the success. It is the temptation that you fail to resist that puts you in a situation where life's burdens, sometimes life's burdens happen because of no fault of your own, or they happen because someone else in your inner circles or some of your ancestors failed to heed to temptation. But either way, we are often in sinking quicksand that we poured water on the day before. Does that make sense? You pour water on sand and then you walk across the sand and then you're surprised as why you're sinking down in it. Free will. Free will is our greatest double-edged sword in humanity because, frankly speaking, truth be told, it is the reason why the world is such a disaster right now. Everything, the wars, the famine, the hunger, the racism, the totalitarianism and fascism, the murder, the criminality, all of those are deeply connected to free will. The choices that either you've made or someone you've made or ancestors made or family member has made. And every decision is like ripples in a pond due to a temptation that we failed to heed. It doesn't mean you need to walk around scared of your own shadow like a lot of Christians do. But understand what your personal hierarchy is of importance. There's stuff that's just entertainment, stuff that are basically thought exercises, things for you to think about. Even Jesus spoke in parables. Not every secular movie or secular song that deals with superheroes or fantastical ideas is meant to make you stray off the path. It's just a distraction. It's you and your personal choices that put things much higher than where they need to be. It's why, Star Wars fans and Trekkers idolize that stuff. They turn it into an idol and treat it as if it's a legitimate religion, not even just the true religion and the true faith. But because they find a meaning in it that's comfortable and easier to digest and deal with than any significant change they have to make. I mean, imagine if you find that you don't believe the Bible, but you like Star Wars, and you find some sort of deeper truth in Star Wars. It's easier for you to learn Klingon or dress up as a Jedi and swing a fake lightsaber around, or do the whole Star Trek thing, than it is to actually make a fundamental change in who you are and what you stand for, so that you can enter the kingdom. Sounds ridiculous, but one isn't necessarily more fantastical than the other, even though one is true. Jesus rising from the grave is a fantastical event that happens to be a reality, at least to us Christians. So, we make free will choices that are damaging, and we make free will choices that lead us into situations where we suffer the consequences of life burdens. And so people eventually took this verse again, 1 Corinthians 10:13, 10:12, 10:13, and morphed it into, God doesn't give you anything more than you can bear, when it's actually the root of the problem is our free will and our lack of ability to respond correctly to temptation.